All right, so today we're going to be working kind of on deployment. So we're going to look at using React as a front end to consume the wine APIs that we have, which is a Django REST framework. So using React as a front end is not really different than what we've done before. You just will make an API call as though you're making it to a third party, but it'll just be your own application that you've made. So fundamentally, it's not really anything new. I guess the novelty is in having done all of it yourself. And then we'll have the wine APIs deployed to Heroku, and then we'll also I'll show you how to deploy a React front end to GitHub pages. You can also deploy it to Heroku, and there's a lot of other services you can use as well. But I'll use GitHub pages, and so then we'll have an actual front end, live on the web, consuming a live backend. So this is going to be kind of copy paste at first. So just so you can see what's happening. So the wine API is up and running here. And then I actually have, I think I broke this. So we'll have to deal with CORS errors, and I'll fix this, but for now it's broken. So this is actually deployed on GitHub pages. So you could go to this URL and see there's a CORS issue, so I can't actually get the information from my backend right now, but we'll fix that. But we'll have something like this by the end of today. All right. So I'm going to start off with an app.js. I've got all of the prerequisites installed here for this particular project. So I'm going to go in here and app.js. You can see as of right now, we have 2 pages. So we have our router using browser router, and then homepage and wine page, which we'll add right here. So homepage. Close this for now. All right, homepage and then wine page. All right, so I'll go ahead and run it locally. Okay, so looks like this is working so far. If I go to /wines, is it? Or wines / get the wine page. Okay. So we'll get this API. This is just going to be copy pasting for the next couple of minutes, and we'll talk about it more when everything is set up. So source API, wine API.js. And I'm going to get rid of this default. So we have fetch wine by ID and fetch wines. We'll talk about this in a sec here. So can anyone tell me about CORS? Do you happen to know, anyone happen to know what that is? CORS, it's an abbreviation. We've seen CORS issues before. Well, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. You don't want it. So it stands for cross origin request. COR. I forget what S is, but what it means is that your browser won't let you make an API request to a different domain. So if you get your React app or whatever you're serving up from one domain, you can't just make requests to another domain. So this is just a security feature that browsers choose to implement. They don't have to do that. There's nothing logical that requires them to do it. It's just how it works. So you can get around that. The third-party server that you're requesting from can include a header. Access control allow origin. There's a specific header, and that header can indicate whether that particular domain is allowed to make a cross origin request. And if so, then your browser will let the request through. So what happens is if I have, so that's actually happening right now with this, my live deployed React application. So I'll refresh this. So I'm actually making the request. So I load component did mount, which we'll see in a sec. Component did mount, make the request, fetch the data, just like we've seen many times. But it says the access to fetch has been blocked by CORS policy. So that's literally correct. So it's the access to the fetch that has been blocked. So you're actually making the fetch call, and you could, if your browser let you, you could just easily get that data, but your browser doesn't let you. So there's basically two ways around this problem. One, as I said, especially if you have control over the third-party server, the cross-origin server that you're trying to access, you can set that access control allow origin header. You can also use a proxy, and you make a request to the proxy, and the proxy makes a direct request, not from a browser, to that resource, and then sends you back the information. So you don't have to use a browser. There's no CORS issues, basically. So we'll keep going here, and we'll actually set up. So at first, we can use this proxy server, and then we'll actually just change some configurations in our Django app and allow whatever origin we would like. All right, so let's keep going with this React application. So homepage.js. Import. Okay, we'll keep going, get all this first. So wine list. those components, wine list, wine list. And I'll get all the rest of this too. I'm just gonna, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna, well, I should do this from scratch. Winepage.js. Okay, so we're not really doing anything unusual here. We're creating the list view where we're hitting the API, getting all of our wines as a JSON object. And here is the detail view where we're going to get basically the one particular wines are going to fetch by ID. All right, and I'm going to home pages.
Maybe the P and I shouldn't be capitalized in the import.
Oh yeah, thank you. Or I should have changed the file name. Okay, can't resolve API homepage. Trying to import.
There's still a trailing dot at the end of that one.
Ah, thank you. There we go. This is the local one. So let's see. Oh yeah, I need to actually change this. So it won't be wine API -cp. Let me see, what did I call this? Bravo wine API. Okay, so I'm having an issue with this, which will be fixed by actually fixing the cores issue on Django. Let's see. Let me try just going here directly. Okay. So I had to go directly here and then click this button, presumably, so they don't get too many requests. So if you have that issue, just go directly in your browser to that endpoint, and then you'll be able to access. So if you have your Wine API deployed with no CORS stuff, you can test locally, running on localhost with your app using this CORS Anywhere proxy. Okay, so we're getting actual information from our server, which is deployed. Okay, so that is working. We're going to end up changing that anyway. All right, so app.js, we're going to add another route, which is going to be for the wine page. Let's see. This is, yeah. Okay, I'm going to add this. Add one more method here. Add wine. A function, not a method. And this will be the add wine page. The form on it. I'm going to get rid of that. This will be add wine. All right. You go to my API and change this. Okay. So you should be able to go to add wine. Seven. And we get a new wine there. All right, so the issue is that this is not the best solution. So I'm going to actually remove this proxy here. And then we'll see that everything will break. The fetch won't work. How do we fix this? Well, the short answer is that we just need to get our application or the server to add a particular header. Where is that? Yeah. So if we see the request, there is no access control allow origin header being sent here. So we can change that because we have control over the server. It's our application. We deployed it. So we can go here. You can take a look at the actual documentation. I recommend just taking a look at it first. What we're going to do is install that. So I'm going to go grab that. So this is the Django application that's currently deployed. So I'm going to do is pip install, make sure I'm in my virtual environment, pip install Django cores headers. So that is now installed. And then I have to go into, I'm going to add that to my installed apps. And then I have to add some middleware. So can anyone tell me what middleware is? It's not littleware, it's not bigware.
Is it like security? It has something to do with security or?
Yeah, so yes, a lot of the middleware does have to do with security. It doesn't necessarily have to, but so
it has a CSRF that you put in your forms and.
yes, so in Django, the CSRF stuff is taken care of using middleware. So that is true. But middleware is kind of a more generic. It doesn't have to have anything to do with security. It's basically just a bunch of processing that can happen in between the initial request and the response. So this, you can think of this as just a bunch of filters. So you can write your own middleware classes in Django. It's not that difficult. It's just an API. You have to have a couple methods. And anything you want to do to the request object coming or going, you can do it there. So if you want to set CSRF tokens or check authentication or change headers, you can do that there. So in our case, this cores middleware is going to be handling that. So first off, I'm going to add this to the apps. So cores headers. And then the order is going to matter here because the middleware will go in order. So if there's anything else that depends on something else, you can get conflicts. So this needs to be above a common middleware. Just double check that. Yes. Okay. And then we'll add something. We'll add a configuration variable to our settings that will determine what applications are allowed. So initially, I'm just going to do allow all origins. So cores allow all origins. I'm going to set that to true. So this will be totally unrestricted. So anyone could request.
That's my favorite one. And then you forget to change it before you go live.
Yeah.
And everything's easier in the world.
Yeah. It can be a pain to set this up. So yes, we'll make this true pretty dangerously. And that should be about it, I think. All right, so now that we've changed some stuff in our Django app, we're gonna redeploy it. And hopefully that will work now. So I'm gonna do git add. Okay, it's going to go through the build process. Hopefully it works. Oh, you know, I didn't add, I didn't change my requirements.txt. So this will probably break. Yeah, okay. So I need to, so I have locally, I have all of my dependencies. So I added this Django course headers thing, but I didn't add it to my requirements. So when I deploy it to Django, or sorry, when I deploy it to Heroku, Heroku is going to set up my environment for me. but it doesn't know, it only knows what I need from this requirements file. So I'm gonna have to pip freeze. And we can see we have this Django cores headers added now. So I'm gonna try redeploying. Do you guys who work in security ever have issues with getting the right version of Python to work with your stuff? Do you have to have a specific version, or is that usually not an issue?
It's always an issue because a lot of the tools are still written in Python 2, and even virtual environments eventually mess up. So pretty much you have a base image and you roll back to it because you break your operating system every like week and a half because you overdo everything. Because they're all like custom tools, you know. So some guy wrote it and published it on GitHub and it works really well, but that was Python 3.7 and somehow it broke, and some dependency stopped being updated and that broke.
Yeah, it's a mess out there. All right, let's see if this works now. Build succeeded, so hopefully that is working. All right, so it looks like that works. So now my locally running React app, let's see if this works now. So before I was getting a cores error, now I'm getting an error because of some React strap thing, but you can ignore that. So my browser is now allowing me to actually receive and use this data. I can look at the request. You can see that there's now this new header. So access control allow origin, and it's an asterisk, it's a wildcard because I said it, because that's how I said it. So you would, you know, depending on what you're doing, you probably wouldn't want to do that. But you can also be very specific. Yeah, so that's something that you can totally customize. All right, so that works. So the next step here is not just running this React app locally, but actually running the React app on the internet and the Django REST framework app. So I'm going to take, I think we're done with this for now. Minimize that. So what we need to do here, so I've gotten rid of all that proxy stuff. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a Git repository on my local GitHub account, or my, you know, my personal GitHub account. This will be called DRF wines front. And I'm going to do the usual stuff. So create React app automatically gives me it starts a Git project. So this is already there. You can just git add git commit. All right, so I'm going to push this up to GitHub. Okay, so I got this going. By the way, still haven't changed to the new token off. Still running on fumes here. I'm gonna keep it going as long as I can. Has everyone else had to update their GitHub credentials? Suckers.
I did over the weekend.
Okay. I'll let you know how it goes. All right, so I have this. So we need to install a package. So basically, what's going to happen is we'll use GitHub Pages. We'll install that as a dependency, and then when we build our project, it's automatically going to create a branch in our repo called GitHub Pages, and it will deploy our application from there. So first, do npm. Actually, by the way, I have there's a README. What's that? Yeah, here. So this is we'll see this later. This is, we'll get to this in a few weeks, but part of this involves deploying to GitHub, so you can npm install GitHub Pages. You can also do save dev. So it's marked on it's marked as the appropriate dependency in your JSON file. We're gonna do this. We'll see in the package.json once this installs. The dependencies. So GitHub Pages is now included there. And we're going to have to do a couple more things. So in our package.json, so package.json includes a bunch of stuff. These are scripts we can run. These are basically production dependencies. You can have dev dependencies and so on. Lots of other configuration you can put here, including if you want to publish this. And another thing we're going to have to include here is a home page. So the home page here is going to be whatever your GitHub handle is, .github.io/whatever the name of your repo is. I'm going to add that here. Home page. And this will not be sample app. This will be, what did I call this? DRF wines front. Okay, so this will be the base URL. We've got that. And we're going to need to install 2 scripts as well. So one script will build it. So deploy and let's see, yep, pre-deploy and deploy. So I'm going to add those under scripts. GH pages -d build. Yeah. Okay, so once I add these 2 lines here, then I can run npm run deploy or npm run build or deploy. Okay, which will build our application. So npm run deploy. So it's going to create this build folder here. Okay, so that completed successfully. So I go here to the repo. It might take a minute. In a second, I should see something else show up here that I think it's actions, environments. Yeah, environments. Okay, so now if I go here, GitHub pages, I can view the deployment, and we'll actually go to this URL. And there's a little bit of a problem here, which we'll deal with. So I'm going to get 404 errors. So one trick, we're using React router, and our server is not really configured. The server here is not really configured for that. So we need to use a different router. That's just basically gonna fake the routes even more. So we're gonna go back to the app. We go to app, and instead of using browser router, there's something called hash router. Is that what it's? Just make sure. Yes, React hash router. Okay, so I'm gonna make this change, and this is gonna prevent our front end from actually making a request for another page to the server, basically. So it's always gonna make a request based on the base URL, and then our application will handle the routes. So I'm gonna commit again. So git add. I'm gonna add something to the home page. And then I'm gonna run the build again. So npm run deploy. And this can take, a few minutes to all percolate. There you go. So now this is working. Console. Notice we get this hashtag here. So it's basically when it makes a request to the server, it's just going to ignore everything else here. Sorry. The server is only going to get this initial request. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to go to wines/2. We should get our specific detail page. And let's try to add a wine. Okay, so that is actually working. And let's go to wines/7. Is it 8 maybe? I don't know what wine that is. Let me just see. Wines. Okay, it's 8. So let's make sure that works. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's it. So the front end is deployed and the back end is also deployed. So that's the end game for today. So you can try to get that up and running if you get that done. So use your wine API from Tuesday, and then try to get your React front end to consume that, and then try deploying React front end to GitHub pages, or if you want to use something else, that's also fine. And try to make sure that they can talk to each other. If you get done early with that, you can do whatever you like. You can start taking a look at your personal projects. You could try creating a front end for the school API or anything like that. But if you don't have your wine API deployed on Heroku yet, please let me know, and we'll get that working. Are there any questions? Okay. Stop this.